Hello ladies and gentlemen, you're on an all-new action reaction in which I give my reaction to a classic action film. Today, I'm going to be going over the 1993 film, Last Action Hero. It stars Arnold Schwarzenegger, who is the last action hero, if not the greatest action hero ever. It's directed by John McTiernan, who also did Die Hard and another underrated Arnold Schwarzenegger film called Predator. It stars Austin O'Brien as Danny Madigan, Tom Noonan as the Ripper, Charles Dance as Benedict, Frank McRae as Lieutenant Decker, Anthony Quinn as Tony Vivaldi, and Bridget Wilson as Whitney Meredith. Now, originally, Zach Penn and Adam Left were going to write this film, and it was a parody on Shane Black's work, like Lethal Weapon, and that type of action film. Ironically, they hired Shane Black to do rewrites on the screenplay, and he adds a bit of his comedy in this. It's very much a satirization of not only Arnold Schwarzenegger films, but the action genre as a whole. And this is Arnold Schwarzenegger's first time as a producer on a film. It's also a PG-13 film, which is very different. He wanted to reach a wider audience, and this is his follow-up film to Terminator 2: Judgment Day. Of course, you get so many cameos and nods in the movie universe, and some humor with Arnold Schwarzenegger, whether it be his catchphrase, "I'll be back," a spin on Terminator 2, and other moments like that. Pretty much Daniel Madigan is this kid. He's at this theater. And I also forgot to mention Robert Prosky as Nick. He plays the projectionist, the manager of this theater. And Daniel Madigan's a fan like many of us moviegoers. He's a fan of Arnold Schwarzenegger and this fictional film series called Jack Slater. I really wish there was a real Jack Slater series. Anyway, there's an upcoming release of Jack Slater 4. He wants to see it, so he pretty much kind of like skips school to go see this movie. There's a lot of heavy stuff at the beginning. We spend the first 30 minutes or so in the real world. We don't get to see the movie world. It's a very dark and bleak place in New York City. And we get to see Daniel Madigan daydream, imagining his hero of Arnold Schwarzenegger. There's a funny scene of Hamlet there. And it's great because Joan Plowright is the teacher here, and she was married to Laurence Olivier, who played Hamlet, so that's pretty funny in the scene itself. To be or not to be. Not to be. I love that scene. So much funny humor that's very reminiscent of the film Sidekicks with Chuck Norris. Anyways, upon seeing Jack Slater 4 early, Nick gives him this ticket. It's a ticket of Houdini. Houdini gave him this magic ticket that takes you to other worlds. Or so it seems. He doesn't believe it works. It doesn't. It never worked for him. So he splits the ticket and gives it to Daniel as a gift. This ticket stub that once belonged to Houdini. Upon the film beginning, the magic ticket transports Daniel into the film of Jack Slater 4, and that's where a lot of the fun begins for Last Action Hero. He knows he's in a movie. He's in a PG-13 film, so Arnold Schwarzenegger can't curse. They play upon a lot of the tropes in action films, and he becomes a great asset here. We also have Charles Dance as the villain here. He has a glass eye. I loved his performance in The Golden Child. You may recognize him in Alien 3 or Game of Thrones. He does a fantastic job here as a villain. I love Anthony Quinn. I love the funny humor towards the films, whether it be like 2 Days Till Retirement and stuff like that. Awesome song. AC/DC's Big Gun was specifically made for this film after Arnold Schwarzenegger approached them to do music for the soundtrack. We also have Angry Again by Megadeth, probably the greatest opening for a fictional movie. I really want to use that in an action film one day. But he helps Arnold Schwarzenegger's character Jack Slater on this case. We also get to see Bridget Wilson as his daughter Whitney, which was also her first film before The Wedding Planner and before her playing Sonya Blade in Mortal Kombat. Eventually, Charles Dance's character ends up getting Houdini's ticket, and he goes into the real world. Jack Slater and Daniel have to go out of the movie world into the real world, and that's where a lot of conflict lies. Jack gets hurt, but this man is able to get former enemies that Jack Slater has faced, such as the Ripper, who killed Jack Slater's son in Jack Slater 3. So he has to face not only his past demons, but this new adversary that now knows about other dimensions. It gets very intense and blurs the lines between reality and fantasy towards the end into a climatic showdown with very funny cameos of other celebrities, even Arnold Schwarzenegger talking to himself. I really like this film. It has just the right amount of humor, right amount of action with a little bit of heart, and for any moviegoer, for any film fanatic who loves movies, who loves action films, who's a fan of Arnold Schwarzenegger, this is a fantastic film. John McTiernan never disappoints with his action films. And Arnold Schwarzenegger during this period of time was taking some lighter films. We had Kindergarten Cop, Junior, Twins. This is an addition to that, and it's very different from his other more hard R films. It's not your True Lies, Eraser, Terminator. No, this is very different. But Arnold Schwarzenegger is very ahead of the game here. He pokes fun at himself as an actor. And Shane Black has a really great witty script here because it's very meta. Before we had Wes Craven's New Nightmare, Screamer, all these other films. In a way, Last Action Hero was a film that was ahead of its time, and I feel like it's gotten more respect over the years on home video, DVD, and I really wish we had a more in-depth release. Supposedly, they rushed production to meet the June 1993 deadline, and Jurassic Park moved right before the film, and that hurt the box office of this film. Arnold Schwarzenegger considers it his first failure and the beginning of the end of his film career. John McTiernan was also a little bit disheartened after the progress of this film, after the failure of this film at the box office, that he took a break until Die Hard with a Vengeance. And it's such a shame because I feel like it's one of those films that, again, was ahead of the curve. And it's a very different action film. It's a love letter to action films. I like the actor who plays Daniel Madigan. We also see him in Lawnmower Man 2, and he was in My Girl 2. Of course, Bridget Wilson will later on play Sonya Blade. Charles Dance is in a lot of stuff. Anthony Quinn. And you have other actors. Dan DeVito cameoing. The T-1000, Basic Instinct with Sharon Stone. And I really love this movie. There's no other film quite like this film, as a matter of fact. I mean, it was even ahead of Ready Player One as far as like pop culture references and playing upon a fictional world. But I love it. It's done very well, and the action scenes do hold up on their own. I really wish, again, that Jack Slater was a real action series. Can you imagine that? Going to the theater, hearing Angry Again by Megadeth? The soundtrack was fantastic. It also had a couple of video games, which did not live up to the film, but overall, this is a very underrated Arnold Schwarzenegger film, a hidden gem, so to speak, and I give it an A-. It's A for action. You even have Ian McKellen play Death. I mean, what more do you want from this film? If you've never seen Last Action Hero, I highly recommend it, especially if you're a fan of action films or Arnold Schwarzenegger. Seriously, Arnold Schwarzenegger is the greatest action hero ever. There's Stallone, there's Van Damme, you could even argue there's Steven Seagal, Vin Diesel, The Rock. No. Arnold Schwarzenegger is one of a kind, and he proves that he is the last action hero. I love this movie. For those who haven't seen it, go ahead and check it out. For those who have seen Last Action Hero, let me know your thoughts. What do you think of the film? What's your favorite Arnold Schwarzenegger film? I have so many. I should probably do a video on that later, but yeah, Arnold Schwarzenegger is awesome. I probably have Terminator 2 and this, along with Predator, as my favorites. In addition to True Lies and Total Recall, they're pretty cool too. Just let me know what your favorite Arnold Schwarzenegger film is and what you think of this. You can also check out the Stardust app, and you can follow me at Fred Film Fanatic for more reactions to films or television shows. Like, comment, and subscribe for more videos.